Hi, I'm Thea. Everyone said I was crazy when I opened the first restaurant in a desolate Miami warehouse district. Now the whole world knows that as Wynwood. Then I did it again in Alapata. Ever wonder how a place goes from not to hot? Join me for a behind-the-scenes look at what really goes into igniting a neighborhood. We'll talk with the risk takers, the pioneers, the restaurateurs, the real sparks of neighborhood ignition. This is Thea's Neighborhood Magic. In this episode of Thea's Neighborhood Magic, I talk with Sebastien Scemla of Omega Real Estate, the developers of the Garden Residences in North Miami, a beautiful 358-unit rental building, which has transformed a long-neglected corridor of 126th Street. Sebastien is one of the rare developers whose dedication to the community, attention to detail, and commitment to providing a beautiful living environment at a reasonable price point is a shining example of how to create neighborhood magic. Sebastien, I was very touched by the respect you had for all the components involved, the landscape, the environment, the community on a municipal level and on a personal level. And for that future tenant that you envisioned. Where do you think that respect comes from?
So, I guess most importantly is I live in the neighborhood, right? So, and we're not developing something to sell it. We're developing something to, like I said before, to build a community. And so, it's not like I build it and then I run away, right? I build it and then people see me there every day. Okay. And now we're building restaurants across the street and we're creating a neighborhood.
And I felt that you thought of your daughter as your muse and your inspiration, that as a teacher making a fixed income, she also deserved high ceilings, floor to ceiling windows, beautiful shower heads, gorgeous backsplashes, a great view, and very high-end soundproofing that you would find in an ultra-luxury building. Do you think your daughter, the teacher, was your inspiration and muse?
I think that a lot of my teachers have been the muse, and unfortunately, they play such a significant part in the community, and they're maybe not rewarded enough or praised enough, and certainly not paid enough. So as conscientious developers, as people that are involved in the neighborhood. We really wanted to do something. We're not forced to, but our teachers, do get special rates in the building. And as a matter of fact, it's not only just for teachers. We do that for police officers and firefighters as well, and nurses, right? And they all get a special rate. It is a little bit of a kind of, hey, thank you to all my teachers. I grew up and I went to public school, and a lot of my teachers, were very influential in my life. And so it's just a little bit of a tribute to them and saying, hey, thank you.
You seem to have touched every part of this project, from Spanish tile to including the blinds in this building. Do you think this is because you didn't learn development backwards through a spreadsheet? You're actually unschooled, so you did things from passion?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so my background, as I told you, is a fashion designer. And so as a fashion designer, it's all about the details.
And quality.
Yeah, it's all about the details and it's all about our quality. So when we were doing this project, for me, this was a design project. And my old slogan used to be live with passion, right? If you do something with passion, and then there's never too many hours and there's never too much work. And every little detail is so important. And yeah, I had no background in development. This is a massive building. It's 600,000 square feet and 358 apartments. And this is my first project. I did surround myself with incredible people, right? And that's really kind of...
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the team that you surround yourself with and how important that is, especially in those dark hours when things aren't going well.
Yeah. And, having people that you can rely on is everything, right? Today, things aren't always easy. As a matter of fact, most of the time, things are very challenging. having a great group of partners that are your soundboards, and you can go back and and share ideas and share your problems and share your issues, and sometimes even fight over certain things that are important, that you think are important, really helps to to sharpen the tool to really end up having the best possible product. And our goal when we started this project was we want to be the best value-driven rental property in Miami-Dade County. That was our goal.
Is that why you're also managing it yourselves?
Absolutely. When we did our market research, and believe me, I walked so many properties and so many buildings, it's very hard. A lot of these buildings are managed by these management companies. Our building is like Cheers, like everybody knows your name, right? We're building a community, and in building a community, what's important is building connections. And so in our office, it's literally all of our family. It's I think I have 9 or 10 of one of my partner's families, from the sons to the sons' wives to the in-laws, right? And that
makes a very nice environment. When you talked to me about putting in very high-end soundproofing, you told me it was because the number one reason there's high turnover in most rental buildings is because people can hear their neighbors. You wanted to have this community that has duration and longevity to it.
We put so much detail into soundproofing. I mean, people would have thought that we're completely crazy. But a lot of these other buildings that are built maybe with not as much attention to detail, because they're always looking at things from a spreadsheet. And we look at everything from an end user's perspective, right? As a fashion designer, as somebody that was in retail business for a long time, really at the end of the day, we always focus on what is it that the consumer wants, right? And it's so easy to sit behind a computer and say, and to slash a budget here and to increase a per square foot there to make everything work on paper. And that's great, but that's never how we approached it, right? We always approach it as, who are the people that can be able to live there and how much can they pay per month? Not what per square foot it is. And then how do we do things so that we don't have a lot of turnover? What are the details that are important? What are the details that are important to women? Women like to have a handheld shower. So every unit has a handheld shower. So sometimes when they go in there and they don't want to, get their hair wet, they have that option. It makes it easier for them. Or a bench in the shower is also a little detail that, guys, it's not that expensive to do, right? If you just plan for it.
9 years, 2 fires, a hurricane. You're just about to be able to start leasing, or maybe you've just started leasing. How did you deal with the dark hours, the fear that comes along with all that risk?
I was just determined. I am determined. There is no, you really don't know what you're going into something until you're neck deep. And then you're neck deep and you're like, okay, well, I either figure a way to get this done or I drown, right? So, when your back is against the wall and you have no other option, you figure out ways to make it work. When you first have that vision is great and it's beautiful. And then, it's like, careful what you wish for, right? Because now here you are, you're neck deep. And then once you're neck deep, like I said, you really just have to, just not give up and continue to go forward. And that takes a tremendous amount of work.
What do you say to yourself, Sebastien, when you are afraid? Because there's risk and then there's gut-wrenching, stomach-churning risk.
Sure.
And you are the father to 3 children.
Yep.
And you were raising a young family.
Yep. It's interesting because I put everything into this project.
I saw
right?
that.
Yeah. I mean, there's, we mortgaged a house to get this project done. I mean, we did absolutely everything. And so really, I knew in my gut that we would be able to create something really beautiful. And so I couldn't doubt myself, but we always doubt ourselves, right? So, during those hard times, sometimes I say, I pray a lot and I say, hey, thank you, God, for these tough times. What are you trying to teach me? What lessons are there to learn from these difficult moments? And you know, and during those tough times, you don't really see. And it isn't until some time has passed that you let things kind of mature, and then you realize, wow, this actually worked out the way that it should have. This worked out in the best possible way. But when you're going through that experience, you're like, how am I going to get out of this one?
How would you encourage other developers who are at various stages of this process?
I would say first thing is, do it from the position of yourself living in that building, right? Living in that neighborhood. Put yourself in those shoes and see, what you think fits best. Every time that there was a question, we actually at one point I had an assistant that was, we called her the ergonomic designer, and her job was to envision herself in every room and figure out, okay, if I got out of bed, where would the plug be? Or if I'm in the bathroom, where's the best place for the blow dryer to be? And, and where the towel bars go. And so imagine yourself in every single part of the building, and then build a building around, because it's great when you see it on paper, and it's such a massive building and it's just so much. So really try to imagine yourself in every single one of those positions. And so, going back to, to any developer, imagine yourself living in that city. Right. Imagine yourself like, if you live there and, and maybe you're not this big wealthy developer, but you're just starting out, what would you like to see? What would you want to have in the gym? What would you want? Where would you want the pool to be? What are all the issues that you've had in your personal experiences that you can bring and make it better in your own development?
You've built the most beautiful product for the most reasonable price for the end user.
Yes.
I think you're going to be inundated with people wanting to live at the Gardens residences.
We hope so. We certainly hope so.
I admire the way that you've incorporated yourself into the neighborhood in this very subtle, very intelligent, very sophisticated way. Was that something you were very conscious of?
Yes. So kind of like subtle sophistication, that's kind of my motto. From everything, like, you saw everything's very neutral. It had to kind of blend in. We didn't want anything that kind of popped out too much, right? So everything was based on the landscape. And, the paint colors that we chose was all kind of neutrals, from the woods of trees and all these different colors. And we built something that would be timeless, right? We want it to look just as beautiful in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now.
Why do you think it's important for developers to work closely with the community and all levels of the community, the government, the neighbors, the individuals? Why was that so important for you?
Well, because at the end of the day, it's how you're going to have a successful project, right? If you think that you can go do it on your own, you might, but it took a tremendous amount of help. Well, first of all, we worked with the North Miami CRA, Miss Rasha Kamo. I went to her and I said, okay, the mayor told me I'm not dreaming big enough, but if that's the case, I'm gonna need your help. And then she had to put her trust, because I was the first major project to be built in North Miami. A lot of people come and talk the talk, but nobody actually came in and delivered. And so she put a tremendous amount of trust in me. And awarded us $8 million in grants, and $7 million in tax increment financing. We worked with the city manager to get the property rezoned. My friend Larry Springs, we rezoned the property to allow for this development to happen. We worked with the former police chief, Larry Jariga, who's become a great friend. And helped guide me along the way to, how to deal with, certain situations. And by the way, North Miami, hats off to him, one of the lowest crime rates in all of Miami-Dade County.
So I'd like to say that making friends is really ground zero, don't you think, in these projects, that you arrive and you have to start making friends?
Absolutely. And so that means go to the local cafe, go to the local restaurant, speak to people from every shape, size, color, ethnicity. It doesn't make a difference. Understand the area that you're working with.
Also, be prepared to arrive and contribute to a community.
Absolutely.
You're not there to land a spaceship.
Absolutely. And at the same time, I almost want to say, be prepared not to be liked. And that's okay, because you're coming in as a stranger and you're coming into their neighborhood.
I think one of the most important character traits in what you do is endurance.
Yeah. You know, so it goes back to passion. It goes back to hard work. And I always told my partners, I said, I'm a really hard worker. When I first took on my partners, I said, guys, you just got to let me do what I do. I go, because you can't outwork me. You can say that you can outwork me. You can try to outwork me, but I promise you can't. And that's a little bit kind of cocky, right? But then I also said to them,
I believe it.
But if you say that you can, then I'm going to tell you, then we're going to make a lot of money together. Because there is nothing else. It takes a tremendous amount of work. We do everything. We work Saturdays. We work Sundays. We're emailing each other at 2:00 in the morning. I mean, I'm here talking to you today, but it's my team. It's just not about me. And everybody on our team understands, the dedication that it takes to build a community.
The dedication, the time, and the arc of years, Sebastien.
Yeah. So, it's funny because I was listening to one of your other podcasts, I always said it's a 10-year vision, but your other podcast says a 25-year vision. I was like, oh boy, I got another 15 years. But he's probably right, to really kind of let the area mature, to really let it be what it's going to be. It maybe won't be as much as 25 years, but certainly it takes a lot of time.
What has been the most unexpectedly rewarding part of all of this?
One of the things that I'm most proud of is we gave the glazing contract to a local contractor. His name is Jeff Losama, CMS Windows. And they fought me tooth and nail.
Who fought you?
The contractor, the main contractor, and my partners are like, look, he doesn't have the experience, and he's never done a job as big as this. I think prior to doing our job, his biggest job was just a few $100,000. This was, I don't know, $3.5 million, $4 million contract. It was a massive contract. It's too much. He won't be able to handle it. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? They told me the same, right? They told me that this project was too big, that I would be able to handle it. And so I said, you know what? We're going to go with this guy. And it turns out that not only did he do a fantastic job, that our contractor said to him, hey, we want you to bid on all our future jobs. He was awarded the glazing contractor of the year just last year. And, it's an extremely rewarding experience because, when you give opportunities to somebody that's hungry, that has the dedication and the work ethics, they're going to go above and beyond to not let you down.
I think that's the greatest kind of neighborhood magic, that you were able to share success and have locals participate in the success that you were creating. I think you're very present in your project.
Yes.
And I think that personal touch has made it very special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes people recognize me and they stop me in the street and like, hey, can I get your number? I want to ask you a question. And so I do. I pass out my number.
It's a funny thing. Everybody seems so afraid to give out their phone number. My phone number is on everything. It always has been. When I ran all the restaurants, I think everyone in Miami had my cell phone number. Sure. I think that's something that we all need to do more often, is really exchange phone numbers as opposed to just texting or.
Yeah. And kind of like when you and I met, I'm a people person. And I think that communicating in person makes so much more of an impact than trying to talk to somebody via text messages, because there's no feelings in just reading text. And sometimes we get the wrong impression because of what's in our head, not really because what's coming across through a text message. So, I always encourage people to just pick up the phone, stop texting me, just call me and, let's discuss it real quick.
So basically what you're saying is, Sebastien, people should talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, communicate better. It's all about communication.
Sebastien, I think your project is amazing. I'm so impressed by you, by your entire team at Omega. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.